Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. The reality is that proposals to make aviation safer are already limited by what is affordable. If a regulation doubles the cost of travel and makes it 1% safer, does anybody here seriously think cost is not worth considering? If a regulation can save $1 and maintain the same level of safety, it should be supported. Every regulation should be assessed for the costs and the benefits. Right now, the legislation is geared only to how regulations impact on safety. The reality is that cost always has to be considered. The legislation pretends that it doesn't, but it is a legal fiction. It makes you feel safe, but it doesn't keep you safe. If the only consideration was cost, every seat on an aircraft would be fitted with an ejection capsule. Every second row would be filled with air security officers from the AFP. You'd require every plane to replace every 5 years, just in case, and every one of these changes would make air travel safer. But every one of these changes would send the sector broke in the process. These safety standards have not been adopted because the costs aren't worth the benefit. Cost is always considered. Cost is already being considered. But the Civil Aviation Act does not recognise it's happening or allow for it to happen. Safety matters, and nobody is arguing it doesn't. But every safety decision ends up being paid for by the end user. Some operators are already being squeezed out by ever-increasing costs, and every new regulation adds to the price of doing business in that sector. The impact of these changes is regressive. It hurts people on low incomes the most, because they are the ones least able to absorb the high prices of the ticket. The impact of these changes also hurts the bush more than anywhere else. Small-town air services are shutting down because the cost of staying open is too expensive for them to maintain. This pushes people off planes and onto roads. Is that really safe? Is that really safer for the traveller? Oh, my paper's stuck together. People are driving on roads that aren't as well maintained, in vehicles that aren't as well regulated, with a licence that isn't as difficult to obtain. And in the name of safety, these amendments ensure that safety remains a priority, but not the only priority. This reflects what should be common sense. Making safety decisions without thinking about cost simply leads to businesses with superb safety records being driven into closure. These amendments retain the commitment to safety but recognise that CASA has a responsibility to strike a balance. A plane in a hangar may be safe, but that's not what planes are meant for. It's not the job of the regulator to ground every aircraft in the country. It should be the job of the regulator to keep aircraft in the air and keep passengers and pilots safe while they're there. And that is what these amendments seek to do. I urge my colleagues in the Senate to support them.